So this is my quick explanation on how stories work, and that stories are our way of looking at the invisible part of ourselves, our consciousness, which is this real thing, but that it's hard to get at its reality. But stories are our tool, our vehicle, our little window into that part of us, which is sort of the unconscious. It's the deeper, it's in our desires, it's in our body, it's in our consciousness. So let's talk about it in terms of how my consciousness, again, this is real. It's immaterial, but real. Our bias, our cultural bias is to say that things that are not immaterial, that are not material are unreal. They're just like an emotion, a feeling that goes, it's not really there, or just an opinion, it's not really a thought out truth. Facts are truth, like things that I can touch, but consciousness is truth. Consciousness is real. And all of our experience of reality, what is real, comes through consciousness. Or how do I say this? My nose here. So I'm saying that the world, the real world, is, we get at it through consciousness. That's how the world exists. And as I'm conscious of the world, as I experience the world through consciousness, the world lays itself out. So this is a different idea than the idea that I'm a brain in a vat and I grasp the object. This is the idea that I'm always in contact with the world. This is we're against the problem of the mind-body problem. It's against the concept that I don't have access to reality, like the Kantian idea. No, I am in total contact with reality, like at every moment. I mean, except when you're asleep or something, or totally drunk. But yeah, so the world lays itself out to me. But it doesn't just give it to me. My brain, my consciousness is affecting it, my mind, through hierarchies, through my attention, through Gestalten, through the which I'll explain in a minute. So attention is crucial here. Let me go to my drawing board. I think this will help. Come on, there it is. Okay. And so what I want to say is this, that instead of it being me, and I'm thinking of the world in terms of vision, but it's also like sound, feeling, and everything else. But the tendency is to say, like, this is how people know. This is epistemology, that the mind grasps the object, but that's wrong. Or I mean, there's a certain truth in that, but there's a better way of doing it, which is to say my consciousness, which is always in touch with what's real, is partly coming from the thing, the object. So there's this objective truth. I'm not denying that, but I'm also wanting to affirm that the consciousness is also affecting reality. This is a hard distinction to make, because I'm not saying like my brain constructs reality. There's a certain sense in which it constructs reality, but it's not construct is the wrong word. It's that I have attention. I don't just take in the million bits of data and fuse them into my conception of the object. No, I'm attentive to certain things. I have values. I have hierarchies of value that allow me to have a consciousness. And and this is going to get us to story. So pay attention. Um, I'm looking for what's relevant. I have to do a relevance realization. Like if I'm in predator mode, what's relevant to me is I'm looking for that deer that I'm hunting, or that food that I'm looking for. And so I fix on that. And then I have a full attention to that. That's the left hemisphere of the brain. If I'm attentive, if I'm much more as a prey attention, where I'm like the prey, I need to be totally open to everything. I'm looking at really big picture type topics. And that's a different type of attention. And then all the things in between. I'm switching back and forth between those constantly. And when I look at the thing, there's a Gestalt. This is a German word, which has a very rich meaning, but one meaning is a form or a shape. And so it can be a figure on the ground, where like this tree is a figure. That's the thing I'm focusing on. That's where my attention is. And there's a ground behind it. Now in reality, if you look at a photograph, or if you look at reality, there's a million pixels of color and thing, but I just focus on the one thing. That's the figure on the ground. That's a principle of Gestalt theory. We perceive things in terms of a figure on the ground. And I did a little drawing here. Oh, let's see if I can show this to you here. Very rough and ready. That shows the Gestalt principles, where, okay, I'm looking at that G, but I know that even though there's nothing there, my mind constructs it, because I know that there's a pattern, there's a something there, or proximity. That it's hard to see it, but with my drawing, but there's an E here. There's a continuation. Even though this thing is not continual, I perceive it as a continual thing. Or similarity, these two T's, or a figure on the ground. Here's like this little tree image here. There's nothing there, but my mind says, oh, there's a tree there, or it's a tree shape. I can see that. So our mind isn't just looking at the data, it's looking for patterns. And it can be these simple patterns, but then there's a hierarchy of values where, and so this gets to like these deep truths about humanity, because I'm looking for what is beautiful, good, or evil, true. Well, those are the transcendentals. But then there's all kinds of other big concepts that really get at what's the meaning of life. And this is like, and it can be even like a simple meaning, like I'm just like trying to get to the university. That's like a goal, and I get there, and there's a meaning, there's a kind of a closure. It can be like just a simple meaning like that. But this then lays itself out. The world lays itself out as a story. And so that's why these stories are so important. And the story isn't just like a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it's me seeing a pattern in reality. It's me seeing the Gestalt and the form. And it's me finding out who I am, my identity, because that story is the pattern of my life. Or I'm going to try to imitate a pattern. If it's an ideal, I see a heroic story, and then I try to learn from that. Or I see a story that inspires me to beauty, and I pursue beauty, or something like that. So there's inspiration in story, which gives me motivation. And this is going to do what? It's going to shape desire, because I'm not just a thinking intellectual being, I'm a desiring being. I want, I love, I pursue. It can be pursuing food. It can be just like as I said, like the kind of, I'm a predator. And whether you're a meat eater or not, like you're pursuing food, even if it's plant food. And so that is a huge part of how I know. We tend to think, oh, what I know is just the intellect, just reason. And the body has nothing to do with it. The feeling has nothing to do with it. The desire has nothing to do with it. But that's totally wrong. This is completely how we know. This is completely how I know what is real. It's not just a dead object. I'm alive. I'm living life. And that's how I am getting the world. The world lays itself out to me through consciousness, through my attention, my values, my desires, in the form of stories. Stories, I see the world, I see my life in terms of a story, but I also read stories, hear stories, take in stories, these stories shape me. If it's a theatrical story, I'm even like seeing it embodied or even on film. Those stories powerfully shape me and let me know who I am, what is my identity.